Paul McCartney was born on June 18, 1942, in Liverpool, in the shadow of World War II. From the beginning, his life seemed to balance between fate and chance. A modest home on Forthland Road, a radio humming with melodies, and a father who played the piano in the corner of the living room. Jim McCartney wasn't a professional musician, but he passed down to Paul a sense of harmony and rhythm, a quiet belief that music could comfort the soul. His mother Mary was a devoted nurse, nurturing, steadfast, and full of warmth. It was from her that Paul learned empathy, patience, and the value of simple kindness. Then, when Paul was still a teenager, tragedy struck. His mother died of breast cancer. The loss shattered his sense of safety and shaped the emotional undercurrent of his entire life. Few people realized how deeply that wound ran. Behind the cheerful grin and easy charm, there lived a boy who never stopped missing his mother. Later in life, this unspoken grief would emerge in his songwriting, soft echoes of longing in melodies that reached millions. His songs often carried that quiet ache, a sense of reaching for something just out of sight, a prayer disguised as music. Paul's meeting with John Lennon changed everything. The two connected through a shared pain. Both had lost their mothers young, and this mutual grief became the invisible thread that bound them. Together, they built their own world out of sound and words. John was fiery, unpredictable, and daring. Paul was melodic, meticulous, and emotional. Their partnership was an alchemy of opposites, a friendship that thrived on tension and affection. John challenged Paul to be raw. Paul reminded John to stay grounded. They filled each other's gaps, often without realizing it. Yet beneath the glory of the Beatles, Paul was always the caretaker, the one trying to keep the fragile machine from falling apart. He had a gift for harmony, not just in music, but in relationships. When tempers flared, he tried to mend things. When chaos rose, he sought order. But being the peacekeeper came with a hidden cost. The burden of holding everyone together left him emotionally drained. And when the band finally broke apart, it was Paul who seemed the most wounded. The breakup wasn't only the end of an era. It was the loss of family, brotherhood, and identity. Fame, for all its rewards, had stolen the normalcy he once craved. Tours, headlines, cameras. They left him no room to breathe. When the Beatles ended, Paul found himself adrift. The noise that had once fueled him now became unbearable. So he escaped, not to another city, but to the stillness of the Scottish countryside. There, with his wife Linda, he began to heal. They built a quiet life far from the chaos of celebrity, raising their children, growing vegetables, and rediscovering the beauty of silence. Linda became Paul's anchor, his partner in every sense of the word. She was his muse, his confidant, and the one person who saw him not as Paul McCartney of the Beatles, but simply as a man who wanted to love and be loved. Together, they formed Wings, a band that represented more than just music. It was Paul's attempt to start over, to find joy in creation again. To outsiders, it may have looked like a step down from his Beatles glory, but to Paul, it was freedom. The song, Maybe I'm Amazed, stands as his tribute to Linda, a song of gratitude for the woman who kept him from falling apart. When Linda died in 1998, Paul's world collapsed again. Decades of laughter, partnership, and quiet understanding were gone in an instant. Her absence reopened the old wound of losing his mother. Once more, Paul found himself confronting loneliness, that old familiar shadow. But instead of retreating into silence, he turned to music, his lifelong form of prayer and healing. Through songwriting, he found a way to transform pain into memory, grief into gratitude. Fatherhood also reshaped him. Perhaps because of the early loss of his own mother, Paul devoted himself to being present for his children. He became a steady, nurturing figure, finding meaning in small rituals, teaching chords on the guitar, reading bedtime stories, cooking dinner. These quiet moments gave him something fame never could, a sense of home. As he grew older, his tenderness as a father extended into his role as a grandfather, his eyes softening whenever he spoke about family. In those moments, you could see the boy from Liverpool who had finally found peace. Even today, Paul maintains certain habits that reveal his humanity. He keeps notebooks filled with half-written lyrics and fragments of thoughts. He cares for his old guitars, as if they were diaries made of wood and string. He still visits his old neighborhood in Liverpool, quietly walking the streets that shaped him. He loves gardening, a passion he and Linda once shared, tending to life, watching it grow. To Paul, these small acts are not hobbies, but rituals of grounding, a way to stay connected to the real world amid the myths surrounding him. His spiritual and moral curiosity also deepened over time. He became more reflective about fame, legacy, and responsibility. Through philanthropy and advocacy for animal rights and vegetarianism, he has sought to use his voice not just to entertain, but to heal. For him, music and compassion are part of the same art. Both are ways to bring people closer together. His humility, even after all his achievements, remains one of his most defining traits. Behind the humor and the quick wit seen in interviews, there is a man who still wrestles with memory and meaning. Late at night, surrounded by old photos and handwritten lyrics, he continues to process the arc of his life. The joy, the regret, the endless search for balance between past and present. His way of coping has always been through creation. He doesn't always speak of his pain directly. He translates it into melody, letting music say what words cannot. When Paul speaks about John Lennon now, his voice often carries a trembling tenderness. Not guilt, not sorrow, but a quiet acceptance. He has come to understand that their bond, though marked by friction, was sacred. Love and loss coexist in that space. Theirs was a friendship that changed them both, and even in death, it continues to shape him. Paul knows now that love never truly leaves. It only changes form. Today, in his later years, Paul McCartney stands not as a rock god, but as a man who has lived deeply, lost deeply, and loved deeply. The songs he sings on stage are not just reminders of what once was. They are reflections of everything he has carried, learned, and released. When he looks out over a sea of faces singing "Hey Jude" or "Let It Be."
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be.
There's a sense of peace in his eyes, as if the boy who once grieved in silence has finally made peace with time. Paul McCartney is more than a legend. He is living proof that pain and love can coexist, that beauty can rise from loss, and that kindness endures longer than fame. In him, we see the lifelong journey of a man trying to understand the world and himself, one melody at a time.